When I was 7 years old, I was still hearing, not deaf. I became deaf in 1940-1941. I lived with my mother in a terraced house. Ours was in the middle of a long row of houses, and we had a cellar. When the war started, there were announcements telling people that if the planes came over, a siren would sound and we should go to our air raid shelters or cellars. We didn't have a shelter, so we got down the cellar. For the first year of the war, 1939 to 1940, not much happened in England. All the fighting seemed to be abroad. There was just the occasional German plane overhead. My father said he could hear the difference between the planes. He could tell which were German and which were British. The sounds of the engines were very different. The air raid siren was a loud pulsing sound. I can still remember the sound. And when we heard it, we had to go straight to the cellar. We waited patiently, listening for the bombs, but sometimes nothing happened. We had to wait for the all-clear siren. Again, it was a different noise, a continuous tone. Another time, I was only about 400 yards from home at a friend's house. We were busy chatting and playing when we heard the air raid siren. I couldn't go home, but they had a shelter in their backyard, so we went and waited in there for the all-clear. When we came out, everything seemed okay, but the next minute the warden was knocking on doors, telling everyone to evacuate. He told us a landmine had landed nearby and we had to go out of the other side of the houses as it was unexploded. We all quickly scurried off. The army arrived and defused the bomb to make it safe for us to return home and take a look at it. I saw it. It was a whopper, about 10 to 12 feet long and 3 feet in diameter. I remember being told it was a 12,000-pound bomb. If it had exploded, the whole area would have been annihilated. I was living in a neighbouring suburb of Manchester called Salford. Really, it's a part of Manchester. I lived near the Manchester docks, in between the river and the canal. Then across from that was another river. During the war, the Germans didn't have the technology they have today for navigating and identifying targets. The observer would be looking down for landmarks and following the shine of the rivers, which would lead to the docks. On the opposite side were the Trafford Park munitions factories. They made tanks, guns, planes and vehicles for the war effort. It was an important target for the Germans, but they weren't sure exactly where Trafford Park was, so they dropped bombs all across the area. I lived in the middle, and these stray bombs fell all around me. The nearest was only 150 yards away, just around the corner. At the time, I was in the cellar with Mother and Father, and we sat listening to the bombing above. As the house shook, we wondered just how close it was. It sounded like next door. We still didn't know until the all-clear came. The next morning I ran out eagerly with a hearing friend to find the whereabouts of the damage. Our houses were back-to-back terraces, and around the corner a bomb had landed in the middle of a row, and all the houses on either side were completely flattened. There was a row of shops with minor bomb damage, with windows smashed and doors blown off. My hearing mate and I were looking at the toffee shop. He beckoned me to venture inside with him. "Come on," he said to me. So we went inside and found the floor strewn with toffees. We ate and ate, not realizing for 1 minute what we were doing was looting. At that time I was so young I didn't know, so I ate my fill and went home. I told my mother and father that the shops were in a bad way, but I felt great because I'd had my fill of toffees. My mother said, "What? That's thieving. That's bad. You could go to prison for looting the sweet shop." I told her I was so sorry I had no idea, which was the end of it.